General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, June 24 state that Jordan Ashford will respond to Portia Robinson, who just confronted Curtis Ashford's ex after witnessing a close encounter between them. Jordan, on the other hand, will believe that Portia should be a woman and step up. If Portia wants to save her marriage, Jordan will feel compelled to work on rebuilding trust with Curtis and healing the damage. Meanwhile, Tracy Quartermaine will continue her tirade at the stalled press conference. Drew Kane will undoubtedly be furious now that Tracy has openly accused him of framing her and demanded that he be removed from office. Tracy could go even further and reveal Drew's passionate experiences with Nina Reeves, but it appears she will keep that stunner for another time. Whatever the case, Drew is expected to receive some insider information following the press presentation. Will Kai Taylor reveal that she overheard Curtis plotting to find Jacinda and bribe her to speak out against Drew? At the gallery, Trina Robinson will admit that she believes Curtis is making a mistake. Although Trina understands Curtis' desire to eliminate Drew, she is concerned that the Jacinda scheme would fail miserably. Despite Curtis' reassurance, Trina will still have many anxieties. Lucy Coe will next meet with Jen Sidwell and Marco Rios, so expect her to hint at something she can still accomplish. Nina Reeves will resume her uncomfortable chat with Carly Spencer. Nina believes that the only way to stop Drew and Willow Tate's wedding is for Carly to persuade Michael Corinthos to reach an agreement with the children as soon as possible. That will be the beginning of the end of their relationship, Nina says in Tuesday's JH preview video. Nina appears to be hoping that if Willow puts the wedding on hold and makes a deal with Michael, her romance with Drew would begin to unravel. Unfortunately, Willow just revealed her Drew marriage intentions to Michael, who is preparing to strike back. Michael will make it plain that if Willow goes ahead with the wedding, she will never see Wiley or Amelia Corinthos again. Willow will stand up to Michael because Drew and their new strategy have given her confidence. I know you're used to getting your way, but not this time, Willow cautions Michael in Tuesday's peak clip. Although Carly will make a plea to Michael later and possibly try to prevent this from escalating, Michael will remain enraged with Willow. Willow had been quiet recently, too quiet for Michael's liking. Their home, which had once been filled with gentle conversation and the continual sound of children's laughter, now resonated with a subtle tension that had crept in unexpectedly. Michael had attempted to dismiss it at first, blaming it on weariness or the emotional weight of their recent months, the drama with Nina, the court fights, and the illness that had almost killed Willow. But as time passed, he couldn't deny what was happening. Willow was pulling away from him, and the reasons were becoming increasingly disturbing. It started one night when they were cleaning up after dinner. Willow was washing dishes while Michael dried, and they casually discussed Wiley's school project. The moment was simple, even pleasant, but it did not last. Michael added that he had spoken with Drew earlier about ELQ and a prospective expansion, but it was a throwaway comment that he didn't expect to elicit any response. Willow, on the other hand, stood motionless, her hands still in the suds and her gaze remote. Michael noticed right away. What is it? Willow cleaned her hands and faced him with a calm intensity in her expression. Michael, I want to ask you something, and I want you to be open with me. He nodded, realizing her earnestness. Of course. Are you withholding something from me? What about Drew, Nina, or Carly? He wasn't expecting the inquiry. He opened his tongue to refute it. His impulse was to shield her from the stress that had almost destroyed her previously. But Willow was not asking as a frail woman on the mend. She was asking as a mother, wife, and woman who had had it. I'm not lying to you, Michael explained gently. But there are complications. Willow stepped back. That is not an answer. What complications? Michael sighed and cleaned his hands with the dish towel. It's about SEC stuff. There has been movement behind the scenes. Drew might be in more danger than we thought, and Nina. Nina again. Willow's voice was sharper now. Why does it keep coming back to her? Why are we still allowing her to damage our lives? Michael did not reply right away. He wasn't certain he had a good answer. The truth was, part of him had hoped that with enough time and space, Nina's grip on their family would loosen. Instead, it had festered. She was always close, inserting herself in ways that did more harm than good. The SEC problem, which had begun as a premeditated maneuver on Michael's side, had escalated out of hand, and Drew was now suffering the price. Willow noticed Michael's hesitant expression and offered her warning. I love you, Michael. But I'm not going to let your commitment to Carly or your guilt over Drew ruin everything. If I find out you're covering for them, or if you've been concealing secrets that could harm this family, I won't remain quiet. I will not stand by. Her words cut deep. Michael was unaccustomed to hearing that tone from her, and it rattled him. Willow wasn't lying. She had been through too much to go backwards now. Her tranquility, recovery, and children were her top objectives. Not Carly, not ELQ, and definitely not Nina. Meanwhile, Drew Kane began to feel the strain of his own unraveling secrets. His time in Pentonville had altered him in ways he hadn't yet begun to comprehend. The atrocities he'd been through, the deals he'd made to survive, all of it lingered in the back of his mind like ghosts. But the secret he was keeping now was far worse than anything he'd seen behind prison. He had recently received a private communication from an unexpected source, a former SEC investigator and whistleblower. The message was brief and chilling. A file attachment with names, transaction records, and most incriminating of all, a redacted conversation that explicitly implicated someone close to him. Drew initially believed it was a trick, but when he went deeper, he realized it was authentic. The source had spelled it very clearly. Someone in his entourage knew about the impending probe before it happened, and they did nothing to stop it. Worse, they may have used it for their own benefit. Drew initially expected the worst, Carly. However, the timeframes did not match. Carly had been caught off guard just like him. That left just a tiny number of persons who could have pulled the strings. Then he noticed a name he had not expected. Willow Corinthos. The initial shock made no sense to him. Why is Willow tied to this? But as he read on, the truth became more complicated. The file revealed that she had seen confidential SEC material while working briefly in GH's administrative office, under the supervision of another person, an anonymous third party linked to Nina Reeves. Although speculative, it raised red flags. Drew did not think Willow would do anything harmful. He did, however, believe Nina was capable of manipulating anyone, especially if she used the mother desperate to reconnect aspect. The more he thought about it, the more he realized Nina might have used Willow, perhaps inadvertently, to obtain knowledge that benefited her and, as a result, ruined Carly. Drew tried to bring it up with Carly, but she disregarded it flatly. Willow? No, she would not. Not to us. But Drew was not so sure. I'm not accusing her, he explained. But I want to know who else Nina has been chatting to. Because if she's manipulating Willow with her sadness and guilt, we need to get ahead of it. Carly scratched her forehead and breathed. Then we'll deal with Nina. Again. Nina, meanwhile, could feel the walls closing in. Since Michael revealed her disloyalty to the SEC, her power has dwindled. Sonny's faith in her had been damaged, and while he hadn't abandoned her entirely, their connection had cooled. Willow was the one connection she still held to, the one that made it all worthwhile. Nina had always desired a daughter. She'd always envisioned what that bond might look like. And now that she had one, she refused to let it go, no matter how many obstacles arose. But she was not foolish. She realized the clock was ticking. Her legal issues were far from done, and Michael had made it apparent that he was keeping an eye on her every step. This is why she went to Carly. The meeting was unannounced. Carly was working at Metro Court when Nina appeared at her office door, pale but determined. I need 5 minutes, Nina said. Carly did not move. You have one. Nina stepped in anyhow. You need to back off. You and Michael. Whatever you're plotting with Drew, ELQ, or the SEC, I need it to stop. For Willow's sake. Carly laughed. Are you threatening me? That is brave. I'm asking, Nina explained. I know we'll never be pals. I don't really care anymore. But if you take this too far, dragging Willow through more legal misery, she will shatter. And if you care for her even a little, you don't get to talk to me about caring, Carly said. You have lied to her for months. You attempted to pull this family apart. You don't get to play the mother card anymore. I'm not playing, Nina replied calmly. I'm surviving. That made Carly pause. Despite her anger for Nina, she recognized that tone. The desperation of a woman watching her entire world fade away. But she refused to be manipulated. Not again. Nina, you made your choices, Carly remarked. Now you're living with them. If Drew discovers something, Michael files charges or the SEC responds, I will not stop them. And I will not defend you. Nina's shoulders dropped. For a brief period she appeared to be begging. But instead she nodded and went away. Carly watched her leave, wondering whether Nina had more to lose than they understood. Willow was fighting to keep her anxiety under control at home. She could feel the strain increasing. The more she looked into Drew's situation, the more questions she had, and the fewer answers Michael provided her. She began reading emails, cross-referencing dates, and asking whispered questions at GH. It wasn't that she lacked trust in her husband. She simply did not trust the silence around him. That's when she discovered something. An email on Michael's laptop, stored in drafts but never sent. It was a message to Diane about possible legal ramifications if the SEC opted to reopen the matter. In it, Michael mentioned that Drew uncovered a partial leak from inside GH that was linked to Nina's circle. Willow's stomach dropped. She understood immediately what it meant. They suspected she had been the source of the leak. Or worse, they were being ready in case she got implicated. She confronted Michael that night, holding the printed and folded email in her palm. Was you ever going to tell me? She asked. Michael looked fatigued and humiliated. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Because it appears that you are putting together a legal shield in case I go down with Nina. I was protecting you, Michael explained. I did not want to catch you off guard. We don't even know if there is a genuine connection. Willow took a step back, hurt in her eyes. You should have informed me regardless. You should have trusted me. I do, he answered. But this whole thing is spiraling, and I didn't want to drag you deeper. You already have. Willow returned to see Drew the next morning. She laid everything on the table. What she'd discovered, what Michael had hidden, and what Nina might have done. Drew listened calmly but intensely. At the end he just stated one thing. I do not blame you, Willow. But if Nina is using you, we need to stop her. No more blind spots. Everything shifted after that. Willow began working quietly with Drew, digging through records to see what else Nina had buried. Carly backed off as Willow took charge of her own role in the drama. She concentrated her efforts on safeguarding Drew, and prepared for the storm she knew was approaching. Michael, torn between the woman he loved and the truths he had helped conceal, found himself alone in unexpected ways. He had tried to safeguard everyone. Instead, he'd separated himself. Nina, watching from the sidelines, felt the noose tighten. Her final ploy, using Willow's empathy, was unraveling. She knew deep down that the following chapter would be her reckoning. Because in Port Charles, secrets never remain buried. Mothers, wives, and friends don't keep silent forever. Carly discusses Daisy's christening with Michael on the Metro Court patio, but Michael appears distracted. She confronts him for being somewhere else. Michael can't help but feel he's being cruel to Willow by arranging this party for a new family member. He worries that he is sticking it in her face because she has lost everything. Red hot summer spoilers. The 25 show-shaking plot twists you shouldn't miss in the coming weeks. Carly tells him he's a fine man, but he has a new baby, which is reason to celebrate. She believes he shouldn't feel bad because he didn't do anything wrong and the judge made the judgment. Michael wishes Willow could be a mother to their children again, but Drew is the problem. Carly claims Drew is family, which is the most terrible aspect of this. According to Michael, Drew's use of Wiley was a terrible move. Carly observes that Willow appears blind to Drew, but Michael assures her that this will change. Michael insists that if Willow wants to see her children again, he must get rid of Drew. He believes that if he can persuade her that Drew is to blame for her children's deaths, she will leave him. Nina tries to convince Willow to wait. Nina is taken aback by the pool when she learns Willow is marrying Drew immediately after divorcing Michael. Willow insists that this is how she will reunite with her children. Willow explains that if they present themselves as a legally married and stable couple, the judge will grant them extensive visiting rights. Nina is concerned that the judge will perceive this as a strategy, and that she is just marrying Drew to manipulate the system. She also mentions that the judge does not want to see her make irresponsible decisions. Willow claims Martin proposed this, but Nina does not believe it means she has to marry Drew immediately now. Nina advises Willow not to elope or have a short wedding, but to have a proper ceremony so that the judge knows it is genuine and not a marriage of convenience. Jordan and Curtis relive their past. Jordan runs into Curtis and they talk. Jordan adds that with her new position and money, she is improving her living arrangements and relocating. They go down memory lane, recalling a stakeout case they worked on in Baltimore during the sweltering July heat. Jordan recalls them rejoicing on the shoreline after they apprehended the man, and it was the nicest feeling ever. Curtis agrees. Martin gives Drew good news. Martin visits Drew in his office and informs him that Tracy has caved and they have her where they want her. Drew believes this is the second best thing that has happened today, behind Willow deciding to marry him. Martin argues it's a good plan, but Drew says it's more than that since he adores Willow. Soon they'll have the same surname, Quartermain. Tracy has misgivings. Tracy informs Brooklyn at the Quartermain house of Drew's offer to drop the ketamine charges, and she must decide whether to accept it and read his statement. Brooklyn does not see what the issue is. Tracy claims her pride motivates her to go to court and fight these ludicrous charges. Brooklyn believes Tracy is likely to lose because she has already attempted to frame Alexis for drunk driving, so she may have to swallow her pride and accept Drew's offer. Brooklyn informs Tracy that if Drew needs the Quartermain name, he should give it to him. It does not make him a Quartermain, and they will never accept him as one. Tracy chooses to proceed with the conference, and Brooklyn insists on accompanying her. Trina is shaken by Kai's news. Kai drops by the gallery to tell Trina that he has accepted Drew's internship. He says that he will be working for Drew from his office in Port Charles, so he will not be moving to D.C. Trina is relieved that he is staying in Port Charles, but he worries how she feels about the position. Trina reveals she does not trust Drew and believes working with him is a mistake. Kai is aware that her parents have troubles with Drew, but he has only been kind to him. Drew is giving him an opportunity to get involved in national politics. He wants to see where this goes, and he just hopes it doesn't come between them. He also says Drew may offer him a reason not to like him, but he must learn that for himself. He is paged to attend a news conference and promises to call her later. She kisses him and tells him she doesn't have to agree with him to be on his side, and he can handle it. Isaiah gives Portia a show. Portia sits in the hospital's locker room, sore from long hours. Isaiah comes in a towel and apologizes, explaining that he thought he was alone in here. She insists it's all right. She just finished a 16-hour shift. She's trying to summon the strength to return home, but she can't find it. As Isaiah gets dressed, he questions why the co-chief of staff is working such a lengthy shift. She reveals that she filled in for Dr. Park and that she has been dreading going home. Isaiah suggests she find a strategy to avoid thinking about work or home. Isaiah refers to her as a rock star, but she can't help the patients or the staff if she drives herself into the ground. He suggests she should have fun. Portia has no idea what that is now, so Isaiah says they will modify it. He thinks it's a gorgeous day and they'll have fun. Isaiah's not so great idea. Back in the pool, Curtis and Jordan reflect on how long ago that stakeout was, and how far they've come both personally and professionally. Portia and Isaiah arrive, and Curtis receives a call from Trina. She is at the gallery and invites him to stop by. Curtis departs, leaving Jordan to rest on her own. Portia yells to Isaiah about Jordan and Curtis' behavior, which she believes is inappropriate, particularly in public. Isaiah acknowledges he isn't unbiased because he and Jordan used to date. Portia and Isaiah find a table, and Isaiah believes the atmosphere is exacerbating her tension, so they should go. Portia will not be run away, and Curtis did not even notice she was here before he went, implying that he is preoccupied with something else. Willow understands what her mother is saying across the pool, but this may be the only option for her to reunite with her children. Nina again advises her not to rush into this, and that they may plan the wedding together. Willow says she will think about waiting. Willow says she needs to leave and wanders away like a zombie. On the Metro Court patio, Carly asks Michael whether he will permanently remove Willow and Drew from his children's lives. Michael claims Drew will never be a part of his children's lives, but he wishes Willow to be. Michael takes off. Later, while Carly is alone, Nina grabs her and warns her that if she does not contact Michael, Willow will marry Drew. Willow travels across town to visit Michael at the Quartermains. He tells her that the kids are out with Yuri. She knows, so she came to meet him. The press conference will begin shortly. Tracy and Brooklyn arrive at City Hall, where Chase is waiting for them with further assistance. Martin appears with the screenplay that Tracy will read. He then introduces the topic of the press conference to those present and announces that it will begin shortly. Brooklyn tells Chase that Drew framed her grandmother, and that she would never let herself be caught if she had committed the crime. Meanwhile, Drew gloats to Tracy that it didn't have to be this way, but now that the shoe is on the other foot, he proves he's a true quartermain. Tracy murmurs, "Think again," to herself. Drew notices Kai and is delighted he's here. He assures Kai that after today, he and Tracy will be able to put this ketamine madness behind them and reclaim the quartermain name. Kai recalls overhearing Curtis suggest locating Jacinda and bribing her to say Drew took the ketamine voluntarily. During the show's final moments, Curtis enters the gallery and asks Trina what is happening. She informs him that Kai has taken a position as Drew's intern. Curtis encourages her not to let the conflict between him and Drew impact her and Kai, who appears to be a kind person. Trina knows her father is looking for the escort, but how can that protect her mother? She needs to know what is bothering her mother. At the pool, Portia tells Isaiah that you can't fix a problem unless you understand what you're dealing with. Isaiah receives a call and walks away. Portia seizes the opportunity to visit Jordan, and she remarks that Jordan must be fatigued from entertaining her husband all afternoon. On the Metro Court patio, Carly tells Nina that she feels terrible for Willow, but there is nothing she can do. Nina believes Willow will ultimately have visitation, and they can't allow Drew affect those children. She knows she can separate Willow from Drew if she can see her children. She informs Carly that it is in everyone's best interests if Michael allows Willow to visit her children sooner rather than later. Willow tells Michael at the mansion that she never anticipated to lose custody, and does not want to go through it again. She thinks they need to set a good example for Wiley and Amelia by being better to one another. Michael agrees. Willow wants to be really honest with him, so she tells him she and Drew are getting married. Drew begins the press conference by noting that everyone knows the Quartermains are a combative group, and they have decided not to jam the courts and waste taxpayer money on what is really a family quarrel. So they'll settle this argument in-house, and he's urged the PCPD to withdraw the accusations against his aunt. He claims his Aunt Tracy would like to address them right now. Tracy comes up to the platform and begins reading the prepared speech. However, she blunders and is unable to address Drew as Quartermain. She claims she can't do it. She informs everyone that Drew does not deserve the Quartermain name. He did drugs and then framed her, and he should be removed from office in the same manner Monica evicted him from the family home. Tracy tells Drew the truth at his press conference in the next episode of General Hospital. Jordan advises Portia to be a lady and stand up. Trina informs Curtis that she believes he is making a huge mistake. Lucy meets with Marco and Jens, claiming she can still make it happen. Nina advises Carly that will be the beginning of the end of their relationship. Willow tells Michael, "I know you are used to getting what you want, but not this time." According to General Hospital previews, Rick Lansing holds a deadly card, using his knowledge of Christina Corinthos Davis's attempt to kill Ava Jerome, which resulted in a near-fatal crash for him and Elizabeth Baldwin, as leverage in a blackmail scheme involving Alexis Davis. With Elizabeth still reeling from Lucky Spencer's decision to leave her for greater adventures, despite his heartfelt proposal last week, Rick's lingering feelings for his ex-wife may lead to a shocking ultimatum. Another chance at their past romance in exchange for dropping his blackmail. Will Rick take advantage of Elizabeth's vulnerability to reignite their romance? Or will she hold firm, risking Christina's expose and Alexis' downfall? Rick's blackmail tightens its grip. Rick's plot, which involves forcing Alexis to protect Christina while siding with Ava, provides him power, but his feelings for Elizabeth confuse his motivations. Knowing Christina's crime implicates Elizabeth as a witness, Rick may address her, proposing to bury the evidence if she gives their relationship a chance. Any remaining charm he possesses may conflict badly with his harsh techniques, leaving Elizabeth dissatisfied and devastated. If Rick pushes this arrangement, would she accept it to protect Christina and Alexis, or will she reject him given his history of manipulation? Elizabeth's heart fights back against her principles. Elizabeth's loneliness is exacerbated by Lucky's departure, leaving her vulnerable, but her determination to avoid past mistakes, such as her tumultuous relationship with Rick, remains strong. She has made it obvious since his return to Port Charles that they will never be in a relationship again. However, a romantic overture linked to blackmail may rekindle old sentiments, but it will also repel her, especially after Rick's previous plots. If she hesitates, we can be confident that everyone from her friends to her foes, such as Carly Spencer, will advise her to remain cautious. Will Elizabeth risk her love for Christina's safety, or will she call Rick's bluff and challenge him to reveal the truth? A deal with serious consequences. If Rick asks love in exchange for leniency, the consequences could redefine his tenuous relationship with Elizabeth. Her agreement may save Christina but trap her in a toxic relationship, and we have to ask why she would go out on a limb for the Davis sisters. If she refuses, Rick may escalate, threatening Alexis and Christina. But is this truly Elizabeth's problem to begin with? Aren't Christina and Alexis both now convicted of crimes? Will Rick's demand for another chance with Elizabeth in exchange for dropping his blackmail succeed? Or will her defiance unravel his plan and spark a war? Elizabeth Weber had finally found some quiet in her life. After years of emotional turmoil, betrayals, and unfulfilled promises, things began to settle. Her boys were well, her job at General Hospital was stable, and for the first time in a long time, she could wake up without fearing calamity. That serenity was hard-earned and fragile, a thread that might easily snap, and it did the day Rick Lansing strolled back into her life with wistful eyes and an unfinished business in his heart. It had been months since Rick's previous attempt to break into her world. His blackmail attempt, which had threatened those close to her, had cost him every shred of Liz's trust. She'd cut him off totally, denying his calls, texts, and every apology he'd attempted to deliver through mutual contacts. Liz had meant it when she declared she was finished. So when Rick arrived at the hospital unexpectedly, Elizabeth's gut constricted. He looked the same suit-ironed, overconfident smile, but something was different in his eyes. Perhaps less arrogance, or maybe more desperation. She crossed her arms and spoke in a calm, professional tone. Rick, unless this is about a legal consultation for a patient, you shouldn't be here. He did not quiver at the cold. I am not here to cause trouble, Liz. I only need 5 minutes. She sighed, not because she wanted to, but because she was tired. Fine. 5 minutes. Let's chat in private. They walked into an empty break room. Rick sighed as the door snapped shut, as if he'd been holding his breath to be this near to her again. I dropped everything, he replied swiftly. It was blackmail. The leverage. All of it. I walked away. You should have never started, Liz remarked. That was not noble. That was you tidying up your own mess. I know, Rick confessed. But I am not here to justify what I did. I'm here because I still love you. Liz blinked. The bluntness of it hit like a slap. I have been in love with you for years, even when I didn't show it properly, especially then. And I'm quite aware that what I did made me appear unworthy of you. Perhaps I didn't, but I let it go, all of it, because I recognized that having power over others was not worth losing the only person I'd ever sought a meaningful future with. She stared at him, stunned to stillness. Rick was at his most vulnerable, stripped of legal armor and devoid of deception, simply a man asking for another chance. But Elizabeth had learned the hard way that love was insufficient if you couldn't trust the one offering it. You hurt me, she replied, her voice gentle yet sharp. You used people. You used me. You made me doubt everything. Do you think a clean slate will instantly erase that? No, Rick replied. But I'm asking for a chance to prove you that I can be better. Not for you. For me. Liz did not respond. She walked out. But Rick did not go away. He began to appear in the background of her life again. He is no longer as forceful and invasive as he once was, with no surprise roses or cryptic notes. He helped with pro bono cases at the hospital's legal clinic. He attended GH charity events, always remaining on the periphery and never intruding into her space. Elizabeth slowly began to sense a difference. He changed. Not all at once and not in ways that could undo the past, but he was trying. And that was unsettling. Franco was gone. Finn had left her orbit. Jason was a ghost from another life. Elizabeth no longer had a romantic relationship with anyone, and a part of her had determined she didn't need one. Rick's insistence, however, was not initially motivated by romantic feelings. He started coming up when she needed help,